Hello and welcome to the CX Files for November 20th, 2025. My name's Mark Hillary and I'm back in Sao Paulo.
And I'm Peter Ryan. I'm back in London, which I tend to think these days is my second home. I don't know about you, Mark, but I seem to get over there so often. The customs guys at Heathrow Airport are actually starting to recognize me, which is kind of frightening.
Yeah. Well, I was there last week. I picked up my new passport, which now it just says UK, whereas my previous one said UK and Europe, which was
And it's
you know,
blue passport.
yeah, exactly. The Brexit benefits definitely, yeah. But yeah, and I had a good time sort of going around, seeing loads of people last week. Hello to anyone that I met. But certainly, it was very intense, just as we were saying off mic. When you go to London or the UK in general, and then you have a lot of meetings lined up, it means you're going to 3 or 4 pubs every day. So, after a week of that, you just want to get home and eat some salad.
Yeah, exactly. There's definitely a bloating factor when you go on one of these trips to the UK, but that's why I enjoy them so much. And I'm really excited to be here on the ground. I've had a great time catching up with folks who I've known for quite some time, as well as a lot of great new connections. And I'm also excited because tomorrow we're hosting the annual CX Outsourcers Outlook for the following year lunch that's going to feature Dave Rickard from Everest Group. And we'll also be having an amazing lady who is going to be coming from Manchester. Her name is Ashley Higgins. She's the founder of Little Lady Locks, an incredible charity, and she was recently named Manchester's Woman of the Year. So we've got an all-star lineup.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So, who have you got lined up to talk to on the pod this week then?
Well, this week I'm really excited, Mark, because we've got Leigh Hopwood, who's back joining us now. Leigh heads up the CCMA in the UK, and I wanted to catch up with her specifically about the annual gala that her organization holds. Now, from the standpoint of what goes on in our industry, we know that there are all sorts of awards, there's all sorts of conferences, there's all sorts of different events that take place. But the at the end of the day, I think that what Leigh is doing with the CCMA with regards to the European Contact Center and Customer Service Awards is really second to none. I've been going to this event annually since the pandemic ended. Now, this is truly a star-studded gala. I always say to people who don't know much about it, this is the Academy Awards. These are the Oscars of our sector. It's very much a red carpet event. It's black tie. You really go to this and you see not just the leading people from the UK, but literally from not just all across Europe, but I'm finding more and more people are coming in from different parts of the world. So I chatted with Leigh a little bit about the basis of the awards themselves, how the awards are administered, how the categories are chosen, how the judges will adjudicate on the different categories. And we chatted also a little bit about the logistics of putting an event like this together, because not not to exaggerate, you're talking well over 1,200 people that come to this thing every year. It is a monster of an event just in terms of the volume of attendees. So it was a great chat. I know that at this point, Leigh and the team are probably just running around like crazy, trying to get everything tied down for next Tuesday night. But I thought it would be a nice chance to get a little behind the scenes view of probably the most prestigious evening in our industry.
And are you staying on through the weekend into next week so you can be there as well?
Yeah, exactly. I'll be there along with the CX Outsourcers team. CX Outsourcers has taken a table at the awards, and we've got some of our friends who are going to be joining us at the table. So a good time, hopefully, to be had by all.
Okay, great. That sounds really good. In fact, I was supposed to be at the Engaged Customer Awards last week, but then I had a trip to Manchester booked, so I cancelled the awards, and then the trip to Manchester got cancelled. But it was only on the day of the event, so I thought, you know what, I can't turn around and say to those guys, now I'm going to show up after all. But I know what you mean. Some of these events are really big and impressive, and it's not just the organization on the night itself. It's actually organizing the judges and the categories and trying to get people to nominate companies. I mean, that's almost an industry in itself.
That's it. That's it. And the work that the nominees put into actually qualifying for the awards too, Mark, is just incredible, and the effort that they make. So when the awards are announced, when the people come up on stage from the different companies that are involved in the awards, and you see genuine happiness, there's a reason why, because they've really put a lot of sweat equity into these. So it makes a big difference. But listen, I think that Leigh has got a lot to chat to us about. So I'm going to recommend that we head on over to the chat that I held with her to find out a little bit more about what's happening November 25th, which is going to be the night of the year in our industry. The CX Files is delighted to welcome back a longtime friend and previous guest in the form of Leigh Hopwood, who is the CEO of the CCMA, as well as the chair of the European Customer Contact Alliance. Leigh, it is great to have you back on the pod. You are joining us from your home office in London today.
I am, and thank you so much for having me. Good to see you.
It's great to see you. Always love to catch up. And I know that we'll be catching up in a few weeks' time in person. And that's sort of going to touch on what we're going to be discussing today over the course of our podcast. Now, for those of you who are listening but might not be aware, the European Call and Contact Center Awards are probably the event of the year as far as I'm concerned. It's the one that you definitely want to be attending because of obviously the individuals that it attracts, but also the thought leadership around the awards process itself. And Leigh, it's always a fascinating evening. It's always a fascinating time to get together. You literally will see the who's who of the industry walking by the red carpet. Some of those amazing faces that are up on stage presenting awards as well as receiving awards. Can you give me a little bit of a background of the awards program itself? Can you talk a little bit about the basis of it and how it got started, and why has it become such a big event, maybe the biggest event in our sector annually?
Yeah, do you know what so this year they're 25 years old. We do laugh a little bit that the 25th edition is taking place on the 25th of November in 2025.
You couldn't make this up.
You couldn't. And so 25 years old, I have probably been going to them for the last 23 years. So I have seen their evolution. They were born. Some people will remember United Business Media, UBM, in the UK. I think they were the Customer Service Awards at the time, and they were very much in the contact center world. And then a few years later, there was an amalgamation of a couple of awards programs. And then the ECCCSAs were born, the European Contact Center and Customer Service Awards were born. And they took place in Birmingham for a long time, really quite UK heavy, to be fair. And then they moved down to London. They were once upon a time part of Call and Contact Center Expo. They were all managed under the same organisation. And then in 2014, UBM decided to close the ECCCSAs. And at the time, I obviously had been involved very, very much. I had a chat with my predecessor here at the CCMA and said, shall I introduce you? See if you want to have a conversation. And what materialized from there was that the ECCCSAs were saved. And from there on in, where I had been a judge, I'd been a sponsor of the awards. From there on in, I then became a manager of the awards evening, and Jackie Pringle, who everybody knows, manages the judging side of things. And over the last 5 years, 7 years, they've really grown from being 900, 1,000 people up to 1,200 plus people there on the night. And I think what's made it such a big event in our sector is twofold. One is certainly over the last 5 years, we've been having a very purposeful, driven campaign to make it truly European. Being a program that was born out of the UK, for me, it's really important that it is truly representative of Europe. And this year, it's got 44 countries involved. But I think the other part that, and that's 44 countries in Europe. The other part that I think has made it truly exceptional is the judging process, and just how robust that is. Because you know that, and what was described to me a couple of years ago by one winner was they said they'd entered lots of awards, they'd won various awards, but the award that they were most proud of was the ECCCA gold win that they achieved. And the reason they were most proud of it is because it was the most difficult to get, because they knew that they had done something exceptional because the competition is so strong.
Now, that raises a really interesting point, because as somebody who's attended the gala the last few years, and the first year I came was literally right when the pandemic rules, the health rules had come down and we were able to fly and so forth. And the first trip I made was over to London for the awards night. And what a time it was. And I mean, we were navigating vaccine passports, we were navigating wearing masks and so forth. But I was taken aback by the energy in the room, and I was taken aback by, as you emphasize, and I think rightly so, this is very much a European contest. This is a very much a European focused event when it comes to the presentation of the awards and who enters. You hear all sorts of different languages. You see all sorts of different contact centers nominated, or individuals from contact centers nominated from around Europe. And that speaks, I think, volumes to the credibility of the awards program that you've put together. And I want to touch on that for a second here from the standpoint of the categories, first of all, because Leigh, you and I were chatting a little bit before we hopped onto the Zoom and we started recording the pod. And we talked about there are tons of awards out there. It's very much awards season. We can talk about it's Christmas season or it's whatever season. Well, it's actually awards season in our industry. So how are the categories determined? I'd be curious to find out, are they static? Do they change annually? Are they ones that evolve?
Yeah, so it's a really good question. And Peter, you know me well enough to know that nothing stands still in my world. So they certainly do adapt to the environment that we're in.
Adapt.
So there are core awards that make total sense, that they've been running probably for as long as the program has been running. Best application of technology, I think, is a category that has been around for as long as the awards have been around, for example. But then introducing categories that recognize AI, introducing categories that recognize customer experience. Best customer service is one thing, but actually best customer experience is another. So there are some core categories that are popular and are vital for our industry. But then we do adapt, and new categories do come into the mix. Not lots, but enough just to reflect how we are changing as an industry.
And I think that's very important, because the reality is how the awards, or what was being awarded, or what people were getting prizes or awards for, say, even 5 years ago, will have changed so much because the market realities have changed so much. And I think a little bit too, you alluded to the fact that I think you said that the first time you went was 23 years ago. That's when I got into the industry. It was 23 years ago. Well, 23 and a half years ago. I still can't believe it when it comes out of my mouth. It's frightening. But the reality is, we were talking about a whole set of different success parameters. We were talking about a whole different set of what was happening in terms of how CX was being delivered. What were the inputs? What were the critical factors in terms of making it work? I'd say now we're much more technologically driven than we've ever been, understandably so, but we're also to a very large degree more quality driven, and the technology is enabling that. And that's just a reality that I think we have to adapt to. If it's going to be the same old categories year on year, that just gets boring, and it almost undermines the value of an award.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is that the stories within the categories change.
Yeah.
So, there would have been a time where a best application of tech story about implementing an IVR would have won gold. That would not
Yeah.
win a gold medal this year. It's interesting that as much as our industry is changing massively at the moment and quickly, and has changed massively in the last 25 years, there's also things that haven't changed. So as much as, yes, we're much more technologically focused as an industry now, the technology is there to help us in many, many ways. We're still very, very heavily focused on people. It's still a people-based industry.
Yeah.
And I think that when we're getting the vendors telling us about all the new technology and what it can do, a lot of the pushback that the industry, I think, gives is, but actually we've got a lot of people here that are doing an incredible job for our customers, and actually that's still really important.
And talking about people who do a great job, I want to talk a little bit about the judging itself, because I have been involved in a couple of industry awards and I've been a judge. And I will tell you, that is probably one of the most challenging roles that you can take on. People think, oh, I'll be a judge for an awards program and they think it's going to be great. I'll put it on my CV. But if you're going to take that seriously, that is a real engagement. And as you alluded to earlier, and I think this is really important when you talked about somebody indicating that winning one of the awards that you present, the gold award, was probably more meaningful to them than anything else. I know for a fact, because I know what goes into the awards judging, but I'd like you to talk a little bit about how the judges do their role, how they do the job, what goes into it, what the engagement looks like if you sign on to be a judge for one of the awards that's going to be presented on the 25th of November this year.
Yeah, so one of the first things to point out is that the judges that we've got about 100 judges on the program, and they are all volunteers. So they are invited to be a judge on the program. And what's really important there is how are they selected? So yes, there are people that are known by the program that have been judging on the awards for a long time. So they know what they're looking for. They know the process that we expect them to go through, and they're able to bring their experiences into the judging experience. So what's really important, as when you're a finalist, you go into a panel judging piece, and you're terrified. You're worried. You're anxious. You're hoping you say the right thing. You're hoping you're going to be able to answer their questions. And what's really important is that the judges put all the finalists at ease. So there's lots of things that when Jackie is going through the process of identifying who we're going to invite to be a judge, there's lots of things she factors in. That's one of them, making sure that we create an environment where people can bring their best to the table. But we also look at their experiences. Are they award winners? What their responsibilities are. One of the things that we're very, very mindful of is making sure that people are judges for the right reasons. So some people might be a judge because they want to connect with and try to sell to finalists. And that's something that doesn't work in our program. It gets called out. So the people that are judges because they are really interested in finding the best in that category, and learning. One of the things that our judges always talk about is that they always come away just filled with inspiration from listening to the finalists and learning about what others are doing. And that in itself is really good for our industry, is that you've got industry leaders learning from each other in that process.
Yeah, I agree.
So
I think that's great. And can you tell me a little bit about what the profile might be of one of the judges? Who gets involved? Who volunteers their time?
yeah, so in the main, it is your contact center leaders. So, for example, VP of Global Customer Service for MasterCard. She's one of our judges. We have a lot of global contact center folk. We also have Director of Ops type type folk. Occasionally we have heads off, depending on their expertise. So sometimes some of the categories require a certain expertise. Lots of different brands, large, small. It's all very well me saying MasterCard is on the judging panel. That's a big global organisation, and a small customer service team might be thinking, "Oh, I haven't got a chance. I'm going to be up against all those big brands that have got lots of money to throw at their contact centre and customer service operations. As a small contact centre, I haven't got a chance." That's simply not true. We do make sure that so it's really difficult to answer the question and say it's this kind of person, because it is different size organisations, different sectors, senior people that know running what it's like to run a contact centre. But we do also have some influences in there. So there are some people that have, again, been part of the programme for many, many years, who are on the side of the awards and desperately want to find the right people to win. And that, I think, is where that credibility piece comes from, is that the people that win have truly demonstrated something brilliant. And the judges that are judging them, so there'll be a lead judge and there'll be support judges. And the lead judge has been, if I say round the block, they have heard people tell stories, and they've sat back and gone, "I'm not sure if I believe that," and they will dig deeper. So you know that the people that come out as winners are those that they've had a lot of questions to uncover. Actually, is what we're hearing really what's happened. So it's that's the panel judging and the site visits that we do are really in depth, and make sure that it makes sure that the people that are presenting their story are meeting all of the judging criteria and are demonstrating just how far they've come in whatever category it is that they've done. And the site visits, the judges love doing the site visits, sure. Not just because they get to travel around Europe, but because they get to go and meet people and see the whites of their eyes. And actually, Jackie talks about smelling the coffee in the site, and you do get I did some observing of judging in the last few years, and you really do get a feel for that operation by going and visiting them, and that's why we still do the visits.
It's interesting. I'm a big believer that you've got to get on the ground and you've got to see things literally from a ground perspective. And I love the expression you used just now, see the whites of their eyes, because that's the only way you're going to get a sense about how well an organization is doing in terms of driving the best possible outcomes, no matter what the aspect is. And congratulations to you and to the team for having developed such a rigorous methodology, because I think that's essential. Getting that level of granularity counts a lot in terms of being able to identify who's doing something okay versus who's doing something exceptionally well.
Yeah, and questioning it,
yes.
And that's one of the things that in the judging program is there is time for the judges to actually ask questions and test some things that they've learned or heard, and also make sure that they're asking questions so they're covering all the criteria. If the finalist only covers 4 criteria, then the judges will ask about the others, so that they are they've got a vested interest, because it's also their reputation on the line if they misrepresent them. So yeah, and it's a great program, and I think the winners, it's easy to win. It's easy to say that winning gold is what you're looking to achieve. You go into it because you want to win gold. I think that's really, really difficult. If someone comes out winning gold, wow, you've done something absolutely incredible. If you come out winning silver or bronze, you shouldn't feel disappointed. Yeah. And one of the things that we try and get across on the night is there's a lot of people, there's a lot of organisations that enter these awards, and that's why there are 8 or 10 in most categories. There are 8 or 10 finalists, and at the end of the day, when they're a great story, we want to try and get them recognised. But there's a lot of people that don't even make it into the finals. And so being a finalist is incredible. And just being in the room on the night is incredible. If you go on to win bronze, silver, gold, then, you know, that is really something to be proud of.
So let's talk about the night itself. As I alluded to when we were opening up, this is truly, I think, the night of the year, at least from my perspective. It's always something I look forward to. I don't know what this says about me, but it kind of reminds me, the anticipation is like thinking about Christmas morning, especially as you get closer to it. But literally, you know, the dinner jackets are being rented, the evening gowns are being dry cleaned and pressed. When people show up, it is literally a red carpet experience. So let's talk about how you manage it, Leigh, because every year it seems to get bigger. There's more people coming from more different parts of the world. You've got so many different moving parts to this. I'm curious from a logistics standpoint, what's the secret sauce in terms of making it such a great evening that people don't just want to come to, but they want to keep coming back to?
That's a really good question. And behind the scenes, we've done it a few years now. So we've learned along the way, and every year we have a multiple page document of our lessons learned. And every year we go back to it, and I'm sure that we'll tweak something one year and it will work the next and then not the next. But so we are our biggest critic in terms of making that evening work. We're in the world of customer experience, so we figure that we've got to deliver a great customer experience in the awards program itself. So that's one of the things that we bring into the mix. And so having those the entertainment throughout the evening, we want to make it feel like a night to remember and an experience. So when you walk into when you drive up to the venue, I mean it's a big venue. When you go in and you start to feel the immersive experience that you then walk into. And we start with entertainment right from pretty much as soon as the doors open at 6:30. There's entertainment, people dancing on the bars, and then at about 7:15, I think it is, we get the babuka drop, and we're in to the main dining room, and it's just a brilliant experience. And I come back to winning on the night is a little bit cherry on top. Just being in the room and being part of the community and being part of the European community. Not you know, it's not just a UK awards, it's not just a French awards, it's not just a German awards. It is a European community. We're in this together. I think that's really, really valuable, and it's really easy just to talk about the night. Because that's what people will remember. That's what people will go away and talk about. That is what is plastered across, social and LinkedIn in the days that follow. But actually, that's just it's a milestone in this journey. So it's a milestone in that, going back to identifying a great project or a great team, going through that entry process, going through the judging process, going through the excitement of being there on awards night. And then there's after awards night as well, and that celebration afterwards. And, you know, what did your parents say? You know, what did your kids say? What did your team say? What did your CEO say? The celebration that comes afterwards. And one of the things that we've only implemented in the last few years is telling the stories of the awards. So for many years, one of the pieces of feedback that we were getting was, but why did they win? What made them so special? So what we've done over the last few years is introduce the European Contact Centre and Customer Service Exchange, which happens in the spring. And that is about taking the gold winners' stories and inviting them to come and share what made them so great. And the reason for that is not to prove that they were the best and deserved winners. The reason for that is to help the industry really develop and continue to progress. Because if they've done something amazing, others can learn from that, so that we can together get better and better at what we're doing.
So One of the things that I always enjoy is the anticipation and the suspense about who the celebrity is going to be brought in. And I got a sneak preview a couple of years ago when I was presenting one of the awards. I remember being brought up to to the green room, so to speak, and having the chance to meet both Fiona Bruce as well as Bucks Fizz, which was a lot of fun. So I know you probably can't give any hints, but can you give a hint about who's going to be the special guest for 25, 25, 25?
So, do you know what? I am going to feed you with some teasers. So, and actually, just reflecting back on some of the guests we've had. So, Fiona Bruce has been our host for 10 years. She's been our host for 10 years, with the exception of the COVID year when we went virtual. And for those that will remember that program, Sally Gunnell was the host, but we had messages played in from Gloria Gaynor, who sang We Will Survive, or I Will Survive. We had Jensen Button. He wished everybody good luck. And we had not Dustin Hoffman, the Hoff.
David Hasselhoff?
David Hasselhoff, that's the guy. And so when we were looking at, right, who should we have? Who should we select to come in and share some good luck words? And for the digital version, we worked with a company to help us deliver that. And he turned around to me and said, "Yeah, you've got to have the Hoff." And I'm like, no, he's so dated. We can't go with the Hoff. And Jensen Button, I thought was going to be awesome. Anyway, the audience feedback was the Hoff was incredible. So sometimes what you think you're doing the right thing and it doesn't work out quite as you expect. And the year of Bucks Fizz is one of those years. So many times people have said, "Oh, what about Eurovision? What about Eurovision?" And the X's are very, very, very different to Eurovision in many, many ways. But given that Eurovision that particular year was in Liverpool, in the UK, it was really the only opportunity for us to bring a little bit of Eurovision into the X's. And so that's why we went with Bucks Fizz. Unfortunately, for those that were there, Mike Nolan didn't have his microphone turned on, so it wasn't the big opening that we were hoping, but it was brilliant to have them in the room.
Well, for those of us that grew up in the 1980s, it truly was the land of make-believe that night. I couldn't resist, sorry. Anyway.
But what I can tell you about this year, and this is the teaser.
All right.
Is Fiona Bruce will not be joining us this year.
Okay.
And that's my mic drop moment, is that Fiona Bruce will not be joining us this year.
All right. Well, you heard it here first on the CX Files. So
you certainly did.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that teaser, Leigh. And on that note, we will bid you a fond thank you and a fond farewell, but farewell knowing that we will see you, or at least I will see you in just a few weeks' time. Thanks for the time you've taken today. I know it's busy for you right now with all the events that you're organizing as well as the awards night, but it's always enlightening, and I think it's going to be a fantastic evening. And congratulations on 25 years.
Thank you so much. And it's going to be a fantastic night, and can't wait to see you there, Peter.
Thanks for listening to the CX Files podcast. We really appreciate your feedback and suggestions. You can reach myself, Mark Hillary, or Peter Ryan via LinkedIn. Please also leave a rating or review on your favourite podcast provider, as that helps more people to find us. As always, we'd like to thank Chris Haig at Traction Media for the CX Files graphics. See you next week.